coming to you live from the Dad Bod Studios. This is a Dad Bods exclusive.
What up, what up, what up? It is 2:22 p.m. Eastern officially on February 22nd. That's another 2/22, but it is the year 2023, and we are in the second half of the NBA season. It's not really the second half. That's a little misleading, but we wanted to jump on here. A Dad Bods exclusive, like you mentioned. We're still working on branding and content schedules. We're doing a lot of fun things with the channel that Guns Picks is usually out there dominating on. It is SWN, the Sports Wagering Network. So you're going to see the Dad Bods channel on there. Hopefully a lot more NBA featured focused content from me and the Shark, especially as we gear up for the playoff run and then get deep into the playoffs. And then obviously plenty of college basketball down the stretch with Dabby and Guns, a little bit of baseball probably throughout. Pun finishing up the hockey season and schedule. Hopefully we'll get him on some shows. He's behind the scenes right now, producer Pun, so got to give him a shout, give him props. He'll probably be pulling some things for us. But look, the plan here is quick and dirty, 10 or 15 minutes. Hopefully I got plenty of things to do. But with the season kicking back off tomorrow, if you log into your books, if you check online, you check the Action Network, you probably see a bunch of futures odds and updates because those season win totals are updated. The awards are updated. You know, who's going to win what. I'm still flushing through a lot of my predictions, projections, and what I think, but I think the win totals was something I had success with last year. Actually went 4-0. Look down, boys and girls. We released these, and then we did a bunch. We did a couple like to make or miss playoffs. We did some playoffs futures as the playoffs got started. So, you know, over the years, the totals have been something nice that I think have been able to find some value. And the second half was interesting because it was the perfect timing, right? You get the trade deadline. You get to see how these teams are meshing. You get to see where the standings are shaking out. So I think similar to last year where we went 4-0. Maybe flash it again. Show those pretty green check marks. You know, we plan on doing something here, right? A few good targets. I'll talk about some leans. The best thing I can say and research, and we're still flushing some of this out. Me and Pun were actually looking before the call, is do your homework. The numbers vary in terms of the totals. The odds vary a lot. You know, they're going to change that juice and that vig to match where they want things to be. So, you know, even some of the sides I'm on might be heavily juiced that way. I think that's okay. We still had success with that last year. I tend to adjust up or down that unit size. If it's plus money, I'll just bet a flat unit. If it's, you know, in the minus 115, the minus 130, 135 range is usually the highest I go. I might take it up to that 1.25 or that 1.35 just to win the unit. So again, these aren't meant to be, you know, huge whale, massive bets. Sometimes I'll do that for the playoffs if we find a good spot for a series or future. But, you know, these are futures. These are second half win totals that I think have value. And that's what we're going to talk about. So what do I use? How do I come about this? You know, a big website for me is 538.com. They're great at projecting a ton of things. There's the Dabby Cab. So, you know, there's a lot out there that you can use. 538.com is a great website. Other sites, you can come up with your own projections and totals. But for me, I really like to look at where the team was preseason on some of these projections, where they're trending. Like I said, trade deadline and standings matter to me. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But there was a number that I evaluated. There was a bunch that I don't think are worth looking at all. And then there's some other ways to play these too. So maybe that's one way we'll start talking about and we'll jump into right now. And let's start with the Lakers. So the Lakers right now are 27-32. Obviously a Western Conference team fighting for the playoff spot. They are currently, if the season ended today, not in the play-in. But you have a lot of teams bunched up here, right? After you get down underneath the Memphis Grizzlies, you know, really those top 3, 4, 5, 6 seeds, you know, even Dallas in the 6th spot at 31-29, Phoenix at 32-28, the Clippers at 33-28, the Kings at 32-25. They're all bunched up, but the real bunch up happens, you know, that 31 and south. You have with the Lakers at 27-32, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 7 or 8 teams bunched up between the 6th seed, Dallas Mavericks at 31-29, and the Lakers, who are 3 teams out of the play-in right now, trailing Portland and Utah also out, and then Oklahoma City Thunder and Golden State, Minnesota, and New Orleans that sit in that 7 through 10 playoff range. So might have to flash the standings at some point. Maybe that'll be good for some of the conversations. But like I said, the Lakers are kind of in desperation mode. But I think what works here is You get Anthony Davis back. You finally get Russ out of there. We'll talk about Russ a little bit later. You shake things up. It was a terrible environment, terrible team for Russ. They weren't constructed right. But this is a team, that can't tank, right? They don't own those draft picks. You can't waste another LeBron season, now the all-time leading NBA scorer, passing Kareem. So you got to get moving. And that's exactly what I think this team is going to do. Desperation mode. And I do think the trades worked. So what you can do is you can grab the over 39.5 at minus 115. I might play that. I think the better bet, a little bit more value, is the Lakers to make the playoffs. I do think they're going to make a push and jump some of these teams to get into the play-in. That's good value, like I said. So maybe that's probably a half unit to, a unit play. I wouldn't go over that at the plus 170 odds. I've seen it as low as plus 155. So there's some variance out there in the market. I do think the 39.5 over minus 115 is also decent. I mean, these guys started the season projected to go 32-50 per those 538 projections. Now are landing in the 40 to 42 projection range. So, it's close, right? It's tight. Vegas adjusted from 44.5, which was probably off preseason, would have been a good under at that time, to a 39.5 point number win total now. So those are two good spots, I think, to look at the Lakers. I probably will be playing a little bit officially on that to make the playoffs. Like I said, they have to jump a few teams, but I think the Thunder could fall out. We've obviously seen some of the struggles with the Timberwolves and the Pelicans, especially injury-wise down the stretch. So, they probably need one of those teams, right? The Timberwolves or the Pelicans to drop out along with the Thunder, but definitely potential there. If you don't believe in the Lakers and you want a little bit more value and upside, the other team to bet on the other side of this that's kind of in the driver's seat right now is the Thunder to make the playoffs. I wouldn't touch their win total. They've far exceeded their win total so much right now. I mean, 538 projected them to go 23-59. That projection is now up to 38-44. That's a 15-game swing just in that projection alone. And the win total odds before the year were 23.5. So big swings, big changes. Thunder to make the playoffs, maybe worth a little bit of a sprinkle if you don't trust the Lakers and you think nobody else is going to get jumped there in that section. Again, these teams have to win out in the play-in. That's the other part and why you see a little bit more variance. Even if they get into the 9th or 10th spot, they still have to win enough games in that play-in structure to lock into a 7 or 8 seed and officially make the playoffs. So if we go top to bottom on some of the other ones here that I think are worth it, Dallas Mavericks over 44.5. I saw it at minus 130. We're going to keep shopping to see if there's a better number out there. I think there's a 45.5. When it comes to this, I'd rather take these win totals are super sharp. I've won, I think the Oklahoma City Thunder pick last year was by the hook. So, not going to mess with that. I'll take the 44.5, pay a little bit of extra to do it. Here, I think you have a team that the projection from both 538 and Vegas came down slightly. They did have a stretch there without Luka. They have obviously shaken up the team a little bit more. I think you're going to get Kyrie. I watched it in Brooklyn. It was a struggle. I think you're going to get Kyrie on his best behavior for at least the regular season. They're going to make a seeding push. They're going to want to avoid that play-in. This team is going to play hard. I would hope coming out of the All-Star break and some of that injury downtime that Luka did have, that he's healthy and Kyrie's healthy and available. He's got a lot to prove. He's playing for a contract. He's playing for his next team, whether it's Dallas or somewhere else. So I like them to get it done. The 538 projection is 45. So obviously a little bit tight, but I like the over 44.5 minus 130. Another one, sticking with the over theme here. Similar concept for me. Maybe this is just the way I'm thinking about it this year. The Los Angeles Clippers. This team was on a tear before the All-Star break. So Clippers over 45.5. Again, Vegas odds before the year 52.5 with this team. So, they expected a lot. They probably didn't know what the load management situation was going to be, which turned into a disaster. But again, down the stretch, before the All-Star break, this team was playing well. One of the best in the NBA. Seems like they were getting some things together. I have very high regard for Ty Lue as a coach, especially in the playoffs. And the pieces they added, Bones Highland, Eric Gordon, and now, told you we'd talk about him, Russell Wilson. No, let Russ cook. Russell Westbrook back into the mix. He's just trading locker rooms here at the Staples Center or Crypto.com Arena, whatever the hell it's called these days. A little bit of a shocking twist, but I do think availability for him matters. I think a better system, hopefully for him, matters, and maybe a little bit of revenge factor for him matters down the stretch. Do you get the best of Russ like we saw in Washington when they made a playoff push? I think to me, these pieces and the way Kawhi and PG were playing with a lot to prove matter. So I think you're going to get the best effort down the stretch, right? This team wants to gel, wants to figure out their rotation, wants to play well. Again, wants to, when you talk about seeding, secure the best possible spot from a seeding standpoint. Right now they're sitting fourth, right? Can they catch the Clippers, hold off the Suns, hold off the Mavs? Can they slide into a 3 spot? That's very helpful. Just because of what you can avoid in the rest of this messy Western Conference playoff matchup. So again, over 45.5 here. It's way under the initial Vegas target, but that's really skewed because of the beginning of the year. They were originally projected to go 47 and 35. They're currently projected to go 45 and 37. So not a huge uptick, kind of downgrade from 538's perspective, which I think speaks to the long-term value in this team. We mentioned the Lakers already. I do think one to mention, I'm not on it officially, so Mr. Pun does not have the total, but the Toronto Raptors going over to me is interesting. They've really underperformed, which is surprising. I think the concern for me is just buyout, shutting down guys, what they do. Obviously, they weren't as active at the trade deadline, selling as I thought they might be with Masai at the helm. But that's 40.5 right now. Vegas odds at the beginning of the year were 47.5. They're projected 538 to go 41 and 41. So everything pretty tight. I do think maybe they get back in the mix a little bit and get themselves back on track. Another one that I will be playing is the Utah Jazz under. So now we're going the other way. What worked well for me last year in these spots is looking at teams that probably should, need to tank. The 538 projections really don't tell me a ton other than they kind of are keeping it pretty flat. It's actually the same projection, 39 and 43. When I initially saw it, it didn't make a lot of sense to me, especially compared to some of the Vegas odds. It was a high projection and a little bit of a risk. But I think what this tells you is the Vegas odds were 24.5, 25, what you saw for the total over under at the beginning of the season. Obviously 538 saw it differently with that 39. I remember looking at it and being like, well, I guess I'm not touching that because it's terrifying. Now you have that number all the way up at 38.5 from a Vegas perspective. So Vegas is getting a little bit closer, but I still think there's value in the under because I think Danny Ainge and that front office is going to do everything that they can and want to in order to tank, in order to go low. Nice thing is, like you see on this juice, it's pretty evenly juiced both ways. 38.5, minus 115. Maybe we can find some minus 110s. If you see a flat 39, I love that. Go grab it. But let's go with the Utah Jazz under 38.5, minus 115. A couple other leans. We mentioned OKC. There's interesting. The Spurs is one I think worth mentioning. 19.5, just way off from where they were originally projected. 538 had 30. Now adjusted to 20 and 62. So Vegas has come pretty close to that number. I think it's just too tight. Right now they're 14 and 45. I do think, again, another team that's going to be in the Wembanyama sweepstakes, trying to do everything that they can to go low. I just think for me, it's too tight. 19.5, 30, 14. They just have to scrap together a few wins. You don't know what you're going to get down the stretch. But those other ones that we mentioned are really for me where the value is. So we'll tweet these out officially a little bit later, along with maybe some other futures. So what I'm going to figure out for me, and this is what me and Pun are going to do, how to sprinkle on the Lakers, how to sprinkle on the OKC there, because those two might almost be hedges. I think one of those two could get there. They're at least going to be in the play-in mix. One probably because they'll flip-flop with each other. But I do love those, those season total wins are all good spots. We'll try to also get out some other officials around any long-term futures. I usually don't play a lot of the win Western Conference, win the NBA Finals, because it's just tough, especially at this time in the year. You might seem like the value is there and you're better off betting series to series, game to game. But I do love these win totals and some of these playoff spots. So we'll get more out. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Share it, retweet it, like it, smash it, subscribe to the channel. Again, it is the Sports Wagering Network. You're going to see the dad bods. You're going to see breaking ankles. You're going to see tons more content around the NBA, NHL, and college basketball in the near term, and plenty more around baseball and NFL and college football as those seasons get cooking. So thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed. Let's cash these tickets.